It's alright. I edit all this stuff anyway, so it's fine.
Oh, it's fine. Is that a family show?
No, I just tick the wee box to say explicit, so we can swear away to our heart's content.
Oh, that sounds great.
Just like work.
Just like normal.
Right, so it's episode 5. So, welcome to the Edinburgh Fitness Podcast, episode 5, series 2. I've got another guest back on with me this week, and it's a guest that I speak to pretty much every day now, just for our work. So, let me introduce John Kerr. How are we doing?
No bad, my friend. How are you?
Good. This will be a good one because it's probably going to be pretty much everything we just speak about day to day in the office. But it'll be interesting for the folk to hear a bit more about some of the things we talk about and stuff like that. So can you give people a wee background of who you are and what you kind of do in the industry?
Sure. Well, as Steve already said, my name's John. I'm the new assistant manager at the gym group at Cameron Toll, where Steve's currently the general manager. I've been an assistant manager for 2 years and a PT for 3. And yeah, it's been obviously challenging times just now with everything that's been going on, but it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Yeah, so obviously by the time this will go out, we'll be back for about 2 weeks now. So how have you been finding it? What's the gym's been like in your eyes?
It's kind of like a mixed bag, I would say, in terms of there is good points and bad points in regards to the industry, and in terms of the gyms being back. I think it's very good for the guys, obviously, all the personal trainers being back in the gyms and being able to be back in the clubs, back interacting again with members, which is something which is obviously during lockdown is something that has been probably quite neglected by a lot of people. So it is good to be back. It's thoroughly enjoyable. It's good to be back into work mode again. We spent quite a while being off, kind of 6 months. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed quite a bit of that. But it is good to be back again, back working in the gym and switching back into work mode again.
Yeah, it's nice to have a wee bit of structure and just kind of a purpose for getting up in the morning and stuff like that. But yeah, I think what you would say is right. From I kind of said on the last podcast anyway, but you're probably looking at probably 95% of members are really taking on board everything that needs to be done to keep the gyms open and folk being sensible. And then you've just got these idiots that are not thinking about anyone else but themselves. And it's fine when you're 20 years old and the virus might not affect you, but it's not really about you. It's about obviously grandparents and other family members that might be vulnerable, and it's just kind of they're the people that you can see why the gyms were so long to open and stuff like that. So
yeah, 100%. As you can see, all the different figures and stuff that are now kind of flying about in terms of age ranges and things like that. I don't think it's any real surprise that the coronavirus cases which are being increased is in that age limit between your kind of 20 and 30-year-olds and maybe kind of going a little bit younger as well. It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of generation where still a lot of them still kind of feel that it isn't going to affect them, when the harsh reality is that it's affecting everybody and it's something that everybody needs to take super serious.
Yeah, 100%. So is there anything you think people who haven't been back to the gym but are thinking about going back should know?
I think the perception that come back to the gym is that it is going to be ridiculously busy all the time. Obviously, as we know, in our gym and throughout the whole company and other companies as well, there is restriction on numbers to how people are in the gym. So the days of the gyms being absolutely mad rush after work or at the weekends, that is predominantly gone. Through various cases, either people working from home or kind of being a bit more flexible with their training. So I think the idea that the gyms are ridiculously rammed all the time is something that is important to know that they aren't. And us obviously on a daily basis, us and the team, we have all these measures in place, all these cleaning measures in place to keep it as clean as we possibly can. Obviously, we are relying on the public at the same time as well to obviously do their bit and ensure that stuff is keeping as clean as possible. It's a lot of it is just kind of common sense and coming in.
Yeah.
I can understand people being anxious about coming to the gym or maybe not coming to the gym just now because everything which is going on, I fully understand and respect that as well. Understand the reasons for that for people, but it isn't as bad as everybody would probably make out it is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a valid point from what we're seeing is the usage of the gym's really changed. It's your kind of rush is a lot earlier in the day. It's the kind of 4 o'clock to say 6 o'clock as opposed to kind of 5:30 onwards kind of thing. But like you say, there's still with the kind of balance the work that people have got now, the capacities aren't really reaching as high in our gym anyway. I don't know what it's like in other companies and stuff like that. But like you say, it's just about everyone being sensible and smart, and I think that'll hopefully keep it a smooth process going forward. But we'll move on to the more personal training side of things because that's obviously why I wanted to get you on. So you mainly kind of help golfers, kind of improve kind of their training to help with their golf game and stuff like that. So give the guys a wee rundown. What are you playing off at the moment? What's your handicap and stuff?
Currently, my handicap is 5. I've been trying to get down lower than that, but it's probably the best, most frustrating sport on the planet. In terms of something, as you know, you dabble a little bit in golf as well, so you can be brilliant for one shot, and then the next again time you can be absolutely horrific. So the idea of the kind of golf coaching aspect is that throughout the ages, golf is kind of being perceived as a non-athletic sport throughout the course of time. Obviously, with kind of Tiger Woods coming on the scene, he was the one that kind of completely elevated the game in every single aspect, and kind of his training and his approach to the game in terms of lifting weights and being able to give yourself the best opportunity by being in the peak physical condition was a major reason why he just completely dominated the game of golf, and to this day is still considered by most, and personally by myself, as the best to ever do it. And now you're finding a whole generation of guys behind him, such as your people like Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson and all these guys who are wanting to replicate what he previously done. So there's never been anything like it before in terms of how fitness now actually ties in with the game of golf. It's something that's kind of keeps continuing to elevate and grow throughout the years.
Yeah, it's like you say. I mean, they look the part now, don't they? The big arms, the shoulders, and all that kind of stuff, and obviously the kind of transition on how far like the ball's traveling now. So what's the kind of the top guys? How far are they kind of hitting a ball these days and stuff like that?
Yeah, you're kind of seeing now the guys are kind of hitting the ball kind of 325 up to about 350 yards plus. Obviously, modern technology plays a part in that as well, but it's kind of pretty simple when it's kind of break down swing speeds. It's effectively how accurate and how hard you can hit the ball at the same time. So if you're able to get the correct mobility, correct speed, and obviously your fast twitch fiber muscles all working in kind of tandem collection, getting all that in one piece, you've got quite a good athlete there as well.
Yeah, and just to give people a perspective, go back kind of pre-Tiger Woods years. What was the kind of long distance hitters doing back then?
You're looking at a push. You're probably looking no further than maybe 275 to maybe 280 at an absolute best. So I don't know, for guys who aren't kind of familiar with golf courses, it makes the golf course a hell of a lot easier. You're seeing golf courses now trying to expand and get bigger, and the ones that can, they're trying to make it more difficult. They're making the grass longer in certain areas for any kind of wild shots. They're putting water hazards in. They're putting trees all over the place. So really, they're just trying to make it as difficult as they can for these new golfers that are coming through. And there's a whole generation of them now, which is kind of embedded that being an athlete is now part of being a golfer, whereas before it was being a golfer and probably being a pretty good drinker, I think. And
but yeah, I mean That's kind of ridiculous numbers when you think about it. I mean, that's like in what, 20 years or something, there's about 80 yards going further afield. And I mean, that's usually when you're kind of at the top, it's just marginal improvements in it. I mean, if you look at like a sprinter or something, it's knocking off like milliseconds at the very, very top. But to do that over like a 20-year period at golf, that's massive. And I know, like you say, the technology has such a big part to play in it, but that kind of understanding of kind of cross the board training and
Yeah.
training as an athlete and the impact it has on your sport, I think really hits home with golf, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, even more so now. You've got guys who are still trying to push the boat out. There's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, it's called Bryson DeChambeau. He's kind of over the kind of past kind of 6 months or so, he's kind of put on a ridiculous amount of mass from where he was kind of 6 months ago. And that is, he is purely basing that on scientific facts and numbers to improve his overall ball speed and then his overall distance, so he feels like he needs to compete more by doing that. So if he feels that he's the main man on tour and the biggest and the strongest, then he's probably going to be the man to beat. There's kind of pros and cons to that as well. If anybody kind of sees what he looks like in comparison to how he does, it looks to be more of me and the boys kind of call it a donut diet rather than the proper way of kind of building mass and building muscle. But
Right.
it seems to be working for him just now. Is it going to work over a long period of time in regards to potential injuries? I don't think so, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's working for him just now.
Yeah, definitely. So you say obviously your handicap's 5. My handicap is me. I definitely have an impact on the way I play. But what's your kind of advice for people who'd be wanting to improve kind of their golf? What kind of things should they be working on as a personal trainer?
As I think that it's kind of a combination of everything, but I would like to say mobility is probably the main one that a lot of people are trying to do. Improving their range of motion and their flexibility is something that they definitely need to do in regards to there's so many different complex movements inside the golf swing. It's quite hard to be extremely kind of robust through that swing because it's quite a fluid movement working from one side to the other. There's a lot of different mechanical parts moving. So I think that's probably the main kind of thing that I have my kind of guys working on as well. And then from there, it's kind of based on their also personal preference. Listen, every golfer in the world is not going to want to be unbelievably ripped. Some people just don't want to have that way. They don't want to have that lifestyle. They want to have that kind of balance where they can still kind of eat what they want and kind of still kind of train how they want, which is fine. But it's definitely a lot of it is range of motion. And obviously, as you become more flexible, more supple, your muscles naturally improve anyway. And from there, the golf swing becomes a lot more fluid. And ideally, that's how you kind of get the scores down from your scorecard.
Sweet. So I know it's very personalised and stuff like that, and like you say, it's very dependent on the trainer. But say golfer Gary just showed up at you, and he's a very generic golfer. Just he's all right. What kind of 3 things, exercises would you recommend he starts doing to have a benefit?
A lot of good work's kind of done on kind of cable machines. So you've kind of got like your incline and your decline coming down because it's it kind of replicates the golf movement that you're working on. If you're working from a cable that's up here and you're kind of chopping down towards it, that's the movement that you're working on golf and rotating through. Kind of same kind of way if you've got one from the ground and kind of working up because you've kind of got your backswing from there, your follow through and your finish. And on top of that as well, you're kind of looking at more kind of explosive movements. You're looking at kind of squat jumps, kind of jump lunges. You're looking at a lot of box jumps as well with a little bit more rotation in there as well. It's kind of all about just ensuring that you've got a solid base to work on either from the core down. A lot of people kind of think in order to hit the ball harder, you've got to be a bit more top heavy. You've got to train upper body, chest, arms, where predominantly a lot of it is kind of aimed at the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads. That's where your main power is coming from, and that's what drives through the golf ball. and that's how you generate your power. The arms help a little bit, but it's predominantly more core stability and a little bit of leg work thrown in there as well.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a number of sports that kind of relates to as well, innit? I mean, I think boxers and stuff like that, so many folk think it's like the arms and the shoulders, and even in American football, like the quarterback throwing the ball is, when you get that kind of solid flow through your transaction kind of through your hips and stuff like that, it just creates so much force, and it's definitely like a way to improve and stuff like that. Which is probably kind of led into what my next question is going to be, but I'll ask you anyway. Where do you think people make mistakes when they try and bring weight training into their improving their golf game?
As we've kind of just touched on, it's quite a good way to roll back into it. It is the idea that the club's in your hands, so it's in your, and you feel that you need to have kind of bigger arms to play, bigger upper body, bigger shoulders, back, and chest. As I mentioned about the guy, kind of Bryson DeChambeau, that's kind of what he's done in terms of the mass that he's put on, is kind of all kind of upper body. Rory McIlroy kind of went through a phase when he was like that. He completely switched his training in regards to kind of being a bit more kind of quad and more kind of glute dominant in his workouts. So he was kind of doing a lot of deadlifts and a lot of kind of compound movements from the ground rather than working from up the way. And a lot of people as well can kind of say, as you know, with kind of NFL players and footballers as well, a lot of injuries can occur if you're doing a lot more upper body work than you are lower body. I kind of experienced that as well from my time playing football, that I had a lot, I wasn't obviously the size of me, I'm not absolutely massive, but I had a lot more mass on my upper body than I did on my lower, and I didn't train my lower body as much when I was younger. So the load of my upper half was far too much for my lower limbs to take. And that's when I kind of started kind of getting injuries in regards to playing football, and how I actually began to take golf a little bit more seriously. And then from a golfing aspect, a lot of kind of injuries caused kind of in Tiger Woods. If you see you go on Google, you see a list of all the injuries that Tiger Woods has had and all these surgeries. A lot of it has been caused because of mistakes that he's actually admitted to, in terms of the amount of work he done in the weight room, focusing more on upper body rather than lower body. So it's quite interesting that people kind of think there's different ways to do things. It's not going to work for everybody. Golf's a complete unique sport. Everybody swings different. Everybody hits the ball different. But if you're trying to get your average golfer Gary to come in, I would kind of suggest that we focus more on the lower body, where the power and the rotation is going to come from. And if they want to work upper body further down the line to try and tweak a little thing and enhance a little bit more, I'm more than open to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked with too many golfers, so it's hard for me to say. But I think as well, if you're focusing on the upper body, I mean, with your golf swing, it only takes you moving a centimetre or something to really muck up the swing. So, if you're kind of working on size up top, it could really impact your swing as well, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're working on mass for your kind of traps and your shoulders, there's a good opportunity that the golf club's going to get stuck. It's going to get stuck somewhere up here, and you're not going to get that fluidity that we're talking about coming down. So it's kind of just knowing your limitations in these kind of aspects. And if you're wanting to be extremely big upper body, golf is realistic that you're not going to be able to swing the club the way you want, and maybe golf isn't the sport for you. Maybe it should be kind of something else.
Baseball. So you mentioned Tiger there with his injuries and that. What's kind of some of the common injuries golfers will get, and how's some of the ways that they can prevent that?
The kind of ways, the main ones which are kind of going about, is a lot of kind of injuries. A lot of problem have golfers in their lower back. That's kind of predominantly where there's a lot of lower back pain. Again, there's a lot of knee injuries coming in. Again, as we touched on, probably that's caused by the lack of lower body work that a lot of people tend to do. Again, that's just that load being a bit too heavier for the lower limbs, and it's kind of, that's where a lot of knee complications come in. You get a lot of wrist injuries as well. Obviously, if you're not hitting the golf ball correctly, if you're hitting the ball and you're not hitting the ground properly, or you're hitting it fat and making a divot, or you're hitting it thin, the vibrations and impact that's going to come in your wrist and in your hand is going to be something as well. And as well, you get a lot of shoulder injuries and stuff like that as well. So again, that kind of rehab and mobility work, kind of doing a lot of resistance band work and stretching out these muscles and repairing them again, is something that again is just came into the golfing kind of industry, but was overlooked for such a long time. Even at the beginning of kind of Tiger Woods' strong start and his phase at the start, resistance bands are something which have just kind of came onto the scene over, I don't know, maybe 5 years or something like that. So it's something that is kind of being introduced in all different parts of fitness. You see the guys warming up in football using them. You see rugby players using them. You see a lot of people in the gym using them. I use them with my clients as well. Golfers are using them. Your average Joe's using them in the gyms, and I've seen obviously in classes and stuff like that as well. So they are extremely popular, and it's something that you can buy a band for, I don't know, maybe £10. It's stuff you can do in the house as well. We're not forcing people, and I'm not forcing people to come to the gym and do golf workouts with me. It's something that I can give them a set program. If that's working with band release stuff or any other stuff, they can do it as part of their warm-up before they leave and go and play around the golf. I'm not forcing people to come into the gym and do training with me. It's all about just making their golf game better. If that could be warming up properly by using resistance band work so their muscles are loose before they start, then a lot of that is kind of job done.
I'm not forcing you, but I've got a flash sale on if you buy today, 50% off. John Kerr.
Put the pro so they can just do it.
I'll just pop up at the bottom of the screen. Folk will be fine. Click here. So with the kind of lower back injuries and stuff like that, it's kind of things like yoga and Pilates and that coming more common in golfers, or are they still not really venturing in that direction?
They're not venturing there yet. It's something, I think it's something that they should venture towards. I've only done yoga a couple of times, and it's fantastic. I found it extremely sore originally because I was very much robotic when I kind of started off, kind of going into this kind of golf kind of training. As I kind of got my qualifications through it, I began to realise a lot more of kind of the flexibility side and the kind of the stretching side. And again, that's no different to your average person that comes into the gym that's going to even do a lot of weight training, even if they're a bodybuilder or they're a footballer or they want to work on hypertrophy. How many people do we actually see coming into the gyms that actually do a structured warm-up with kind of stretching before they start? Or do they just go in and just completely wing it and just go in and straight start pumping chest press and start squatting straight away? That's where your injuries come from. And that's no different for probably a lot of these athletes as well at the beginning, because the expertise in the fitness industry weren't introduced at golf at these times. It was very much a turn up and kind of play kind of sport. And for some guys, it still is. But I feel if you want to get the best out of your golf game, like anything, you have to be prepared before you start.
Yeah, and I think it's probably longevity as well, isn't it? Is like the more you look after your body, then the longer you can play golf and you can keep going. I mean, you turning it onto football, like one of your prime examples is Ryan Giggs, and like he played till 40 years old in the Premiership because he focused so much on his recovery. He didn't focus necessarily on pushing himself playing. It was once he got older, he really listened to his body, and he said that he basically just done yoga constantly and had an impact. I'm not trying to upsell yoga here, but like you say, you said it earlier on with regards to the mobility and how important that is for a golfer, is to focus on your recovery and making sure you stay as agile and mobile as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, and because as well, it's the kind of sport you are playing it for a long period of time. You are playing it over 3.5, 4 hours, sometimes 5. It's a long sport. So again, kind of dabbling in, kind of not too much into the nutrition side as well, but it's important to understand how good food when you're playing golf also makes a difference. You see a lot of guys, and I play them as well, they'll get halfway through their round and they'll start absolutely destroying a packet of Haribo, which, don't get me wrong, is absolutely brilliant because they're delicious. However, because they're playing for such a long period of time, their body just crashes and burns. It gets to the point where they've maybe got 4 or 5 holes left, and their body just begins to kind of get this, begin to shut down a little bit. And as soon as they begin to get this, they start going into this crash, the concentration goes. And you know yourself, as we kind of spoke about mindset earlier when we were in the gym, golf is, as in life pretty much, predominantly it is all mindset. If you go in with the bet, again, it's mindset and preparation. If you go in and you eat the right things and you keep your brain fully functional and you're willing to understand these changes that are going to help you, you are going to become a better golfer. You don't see the pro golfers destroying a Mars bar and drinking a bottle of Lucozade halfway round. They are having fruit, they are having protein bars, they are having kind of energy shots halfway round, just to keep them more switched on so they can switch their concentration on and off and be more successful with that.
Yeah, Haribo, I don't know how they've suddenly taken over gym floors and stuff like that, but they definitely got a marketing campaign there. So, what's that?
We should put them in the vending machines.
They would sell out. I mean, you walk around and all the lads have got them when they're bench pressing or squatting and deadlifting. It's mental. But no, you're 100% right with regards to all that basically and the impact the nutrition will have, and always kind of comes back to fueling your body, isn't it? It's like treat it like, the best car you own or the best car you'll ever own is you don't put the crappiest petrol in it, put the best stuff in it because
absolutely
the best you've got. So I went off track. Yeah. So for some folk that are listening might not be avid golf fans and stuff like that, just give them a wee quick rundown of why you love the game so much.
I like the idea. I was very much more kind of beforehand. I was very much more football dominated in regards to golf. Was only kind of like a secondary sport, more of a hobby rather than a passion, I would say. My focus was predominantly on football playing. I used to play semi-professional. Just adding that in there. So it just used to be. So it just used to be pretty much football, and then golf was just a kind of way just to play with my pals and more of a social aspect kind of thing. Injuries kind of changed that way of thinking in regards to how I wanted to play. And you kind of touched on the longevity of playing sports. My knees were completely, absolutely shattered after playing football. So it was the idea I could keep playing football for kind of 3 or 4 years, or I could maybe golf for till the end of my days. And that was something I decided to take that upon myself and make it my only sport and take it a bit more serious. I do like the idea as well that it's all kind of from a selfish standpoint, it's all on me in terms of what I do, how I approach the game, what I eat, how I train in the gym, how I warm up. If I play good, it's on me. If I play shite, it's my fault. Although I'll try and blame the weather or something else. It's always on me, and it's something that it's a sport that you can never get perfect at, and I think that's something that appeals to me massively. Amongst others, it's something that you're not going to win every week. You're not going to shoot amazing scores every week. There's always going to be, which is something that is very, very motivation to keep doing.
Yeah, good. No, I mean, me as an old man, the kind of benefits I find to it is like your step count's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
You're outside, which us in Scotland don't do nearly enough.
Of course.
Like you say, the mental side of it as well is that kind of battle you against you, and I like that. You touched on it earlier. Is like you can't have a negative mindset. If you hit one bad shot, if you let that stick in your head, the rest of your round goes down. Whereas you've got to try and get out of that, forget the last shot and go into the next shot kind of thing.
Definitely, it's no different to how you probably try and view life. As all you're trying to do is get better every day as a person and as a PT, and it's no different to when you're playing golf. You're trying to get better every time you play. You're trying to improve every shot. You're trying to make sure that, again, you keep touching back, saying that you're the best version that you can be to give yourself the best opportunity for success. That's kind of the base for a lot of kind of stuff in the industry and probably in life as well, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And who's your what golfer, up and coming golfer that people don't know about? Who do you think's the one to keep an eye out on?
Me, no.
You can't. You've got to shift them all.
There's a couple. You kind of have a lot of people kind of breaking through kind of every year. I think the next kind of one that's coming through just now, I do like a golfer called Xander Schauffele. He's kind of been there or thereabouts in the mix for kind of the past couple of years. He's not kind of won anything he's not won any of the major competitions yet, but he's one that's definitely coming through. A guy called Tony Finau as well is someone who's kind of really good as well. He's into his training, he's into his fitness as well. He's someone that's not far away from doing big things as well. There's so many talented golfers round here just now that it's hard to try and see who's the best right now, because they're all kind of going up and down.
You can guarantee some folk will be putting some cheeky bets on now, and if they win, they won't be telling you about it. If they lose, they'll be telling you all about it. But
I'll be owing them money probably by doing that.
So we'll look at the kind of industry. Obviously, you said you've kind of got a lot of experience management and PT and stuff like that. So give me a quick rundown. What do you think is the good, the bad, and the ugly about our industry right now?
The good about the industry is there's a lot of great. I've good experience of kind of working in a couple of clubs. There's a lot of really, really good people out there in the industry. The industry sometimes gets kind of a bit of a bad rep in regards to the people that are certain personal trainers. Everybody has this certain image of what a personal trainer is and how they act. And again, a lot of people aren't like that. I've met some terrific people in my old gym and still keep in contact with them, good mates with them. And the new gym that we're in just now, there's a lot of good PTs in there. There's a lot of good people as well. Something that, as I said, it doesn't get probably the credit it deserves.
Yeah, 100%. I think there is definitely some folk in the industry which don't help our reputation and don't relate to people in the real world, which then pushes people further away from fitness and stuff like that. But then, like you say, there's so many good trainers out there that are doing great things and promoting their message, which relates to the females promoting to the females, the guys promoting to the guys that have done weight loss journeys, the ones that are sports specific. It's about finding kind of the trainer that relates to you the best. And I think
100%.
You've seen it, everyone's kind of seen it in the past. So many folk will just want a trainer and they'll just pick the closest trainer, the first trainer they can see. And now what at least you're seeing now with like online presence and all that, you can really do your homework on somebody first and go, they get me. Like, golfer Gary could go to the trainer in the gym and say, I want PT because I want to improve my golf, and they could give him some stuff, or he could do a wee bit of research and go, John, has a golfing background, he knows the pains I'll be feeling, he'll know the struggles I have, and more likely to succeed that way. So yeah, you're 100% right with that. So
you've got with all these good people that are training in the gyms, how people kind of approach for PT is so diverse. People will, as you said, they'll go and do their research online. They will check out people's kind of social media pages. They'll look for certain things. A lot of them as well. I've had clients that aren't even golf related. My clients that have seen me train other people, and again, it's you touching on that kind of, are you relatable? Are you gonna? It depends. What everybody's different. What they want from a PT, and having that people relating to you and seeing you train with other people and go, I actually want to train with John because John seems to be getting a lot out of his clients and they seem to be having a good time whilst they're doing it. They're having a good bit of banter and they're getting a lot of work done. It's personal preference what everybody wants out of a trainer. And I think because we are such a diverse community and there is such a lot of good people, that there is enough good people that by far outweigh the bad ones in the industry.
Yeah, and it's kind of what we spoke about in the office earlier today is if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to do it. So it doesn't matter if you've got the best workout routine in the world as a trainer. If your client hates what they're doing, they're not going to come back. So, like you say, when you can get a relationship with somebody where they actually enjoy coming to training, they can have a wee bit of a laugh. It makes the world of the difference because then they can keep it going. And the biggest word any trainer will really tell you is consistency. And as I say, part of that is enjoyment. So it definitely makes a difference. What's that kind of ugly about the industry?
In terms of the industry, obviously you do have a lot of, obviously we are coming into now a different time. This is something I probably only picked up kind of recently, is that obviously we are managing a gym, we are managing thousands and thousands of people. And since we're going through something so serious just now, that it's frustrating that we aren't seeing some of the kind of good behaviours that we want to see in the gyms. Obviously, as we said, the majority of the people are, but we are having to deal with a lot of the general public at times that are not being as safe and as following the guidelines as much as they should. And obviously, we consistently challenge them on that when they're in the gym. It's something I don't like to do. I know you don't like to do as well, because you don't want to see it in your gym, and it doesn't affect it affects all of us. It's not just like before. This is so serious what we're going through. It affects us, it affects our families, it affects everybody else in the gym as well and their families. So that's only something, because I'm still relatively new to the industry, I would say, in comparison to other guys. I've only kind of just over 3 years now. So in regards to being a commercial gym standpoint, I'm not too keen on putting my trust in a lot of the public at times, when I would rather kind of do it myself.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, doesn't matter how spotless the staff keep the kit at the moment, is like, unless members help, it could lead to issues. And like we said earlier, 95% of the members have been incredible. And it's the situation that I had today with a member when I politely asked them to clean up the kit, and he gets aggressive back with me and says I'm singling him out. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, mate, if you cleaned the kit like you're supposed to, I wouldn't have had to actually speak to you about it. And it's
a lack of common sense, which kind of frustrates everybody.
Yeah, and it's that kind of defense as well. As like, he made the mistake, and if he turned around to me and was like, "Oh, sorry, mate, I wasn't thinking," or "My bad," you go and clean it. But it was immediately puts up that defensive wall as to, "Wow, you're singling me out," and discrimination and all this kind of stuff. And you're just a bit like, right, come on, like, the only reason I'm asking you to do this is, like you say, it's not about us, it's about the bigger picture and helping everyone. And it's like, just play your part, just do the simplest things. Somebody's asking you to wipe down a dumbbell, they're not asking you to, like, stay away from the gym for the rest of your life or something like that. It's just a tiny, minuscule task that people are asking you to do.
Yeah, it's frustrating when people don't kind of follow the basic, simple rules in regards to kind of etiquette, and always kind of base it on, if that's how the conditions some people leave the gym, then Jesus, God knows what their houses are like.
Yeah, 100%.
Chaos.
And now you get an idea of what we do in the office all day, just sitting ranting about members.
Absolutely, sitting clean kit. I think we should open our own cleaning company.
Well, we won't say anything about the cleaning companies, but
leave it at that.
There's a regional manager looking for a job in Scotland somewhere. Right, so we'll wrap up now because we're coming up to the 40-minute mark. It's just been rambling away. This is kind of what we do all day. Can you give people a wee heads up about where they can find some more information on you?
Of course, predominantly, if you want to try and find me, you can find me on Facebook as John Kerr. You can find me in the gym at Cameron Toll, situated there, obviously beside you handsome man, as your assistant manager. And also as well, you can predominantly get all my work currently is done through Instagram and stuff just now. So you can find me at Tattooed Golfer. don't know if you can see, I'm covered in tattoos and I'm a golfer, so that kind of made sense to add that name. Then you get 2, good maths. So yeah, that's kind of where all my work is done as well. Obviously, I do specialise in kind of golf specific training, but I am just a normal personal trainer as well. I do appeal to the masses, as they say. I've got a lot of clients which aren't golfers as well that thoroughly enjoy. Well, I think they enjoy the training that I do. They're still there, so I've got a really good group of guys as well and girls. So yeah, that's where you can see me creeping about.
The ladies come for the biceps.
Nah, no mind.
Right. Well, right, guys. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, John. Thanks very much for coming on. I think there was loads of stuff that people could take away from it. And we'll see you on the next podcast, guys. See you later.
Hey, see you, buddy.